Hi everyone, it's Sonia McDonald here from Leadership HQ, and as you're aware, we are live streaming regularly at the moment on YouTube, Facebook, and in particular LinkedIn, and we are interviewing incredible leaders, founders, CEOs, entrepreneurs around the globe around leadership, and in particular kind and courageous leadership, and because we're on a mission to build a world of kind and courageous leaders. And I am so excited to be talking with Sheen Ireland. Now, she is the managing director and also founder of Specialised in Communication. I also work with Sheena. I coach Sheena. Sheena is going to be doing some great work with us with our Outstanding Leadership Awards and also some really great things that we're doing in the leadership space. And she is amazing. I cannot speak highly enough of her and her work. She is incredible. And she espouses kind and courageous leadership. So when she approached me about working with her, I felt honoured that she had approached me because I started to get to know her and I thought, wow, I am feeling so blessed to be working with someone like Sheena because she's got an incredible company, incredible team, and I know that her leadership and her business is going to go really, really far because she does do remarkable work and she's all about bringing out the best in others and helping others shine. So welcome to the Leadership Channel, Sheena.
Thank you very much, Sonia. And I'm very blessed to be working with you as well. And I think I'm going to take you everywhere to do my intros. This is amazing.
Well, I just think that I see your journey and what you're wanting to achieve and your vision around your work and specialists in communications. I know that you're going to be amazing. So tell us a little bit about you and your journey and why you do what you do.
Yeah, I think I've always had a fundamental curiosity about human behaviour, and I think that led me to naturally start a career in communications around probably 20 years ago now. So not knowing what to do after high school, and college, I kind of went into the government, and lucky for me, fell into some roles that were really around communication. And through that, I got to work in some amazing sort of task force with amazing people, all of those kind of things. But really underpinning that is that fundamental curiosity around how people connect. And that's kind of led me to where I am now. And like you said, it's that kind and courageous leadership. And I think the same thing is true of communication. And, communication is about actually having the courage to have conversations, also leading with compassion. And that's how we effectively connect, with empathy. And that's how real communication happens and real things get done.
Very true. And in particular, I'm going to talk to you about, obviously this year has been really challenging for everyone with COVID. And you and I have spoken about this on several occasions around the work you do is really, I think, pivotal because it is about communication. And I think that even as leaders going through any sort of crisis or challenge, or even with great things that happen, communication is really important. So how have you found, in terms of the work you do, helping your clients or helping leaders and people out there around that communication space during COVID?
It's been, I think, COVID in particular, and, coming off as well the bushfires, and, here in Canberra we had massive hailstorms causing destruction and things like that. It really has been a hell of a year. And I think what that does is it highlights the real importance of communication. Teams are now working remotely, which adds a barrier to communication. And when teams aren't sort of cohesive, or when people aren't communicating with their customers or communicating with their stakeholders, things can easily break down. And in a time like COVID that has caused so much destruction to a lot of businesses, to a lot of organisations, when you don't communicate effectively, you just amplify that crisis. And we can't take away the destruction that's happened to people, and a lot of it's been out of people's control. But what we can control is how we communicate, how we set expectations with people, how we communicate to make people continue to have trust and have faith in the companies that they're working for or with, and all of those kind of things. And for me, I've worked with a lot of organisations, government departments and small businesses, medium enterprises, etc., during this time. And the biggest thing that has helped them get through this time is a focus on real communication, a focus on people-led communication as well, not profit-led communication, but people-led communication, where we actually have an empathy for what everyone's going through. You know, I always say with communication, it's never one size fits all. And when it comes to crisis, when it comes like times like this, people want to get messages out there quickly. And the then perception is you can just find one message to suit everyone and get that out really quickly in times like this. It's kind of a false perception, because we're all different people. We all handle things differently. We're all going through different circumstances. Inclusive communication is recognizing that difference and recognizing where you might need to tailor your message even 5 or 6 times to reach different people. And so that's some of the work we've been doing with people too, is looking at, you know, what their audience looks like, what the difference is, and then how they actually tailor their communication to different people, different groups, etc., so they actually get, you know, real impact and they actually properly support people during this time as well.
I love that people-led communication. Mm-hmm. That is fundamental during this time, because I understand that there is so much uncertainty, and I mean, in saying that, gosh, I mean, what is really certain? But I think that people-led communication, keeping it authentic, keeping it real, is what people, I think, even moving forward, I think there is going to be a shift in how we communicate and lead that is more around that authentic, real, people-led, vulnerable kind of communication.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. We wrote about this the other day, actually, where we talked about, you know, because we do hear stories about a lot of businesses who, and let's be honest, every business has had that, oh, damn moment where there's a lot of fear around that, because it says, okay, well, we're businesses. We've got to make money to survive, to support our staff, to support everyone. But we also hear those stories about businesses who are now really hammering their staff, going, okay, well, that's it. You've got to bill 8 hours a day, or, you know, we've got to make money. If you don't bring money in the door, you're going to be out. And that's real profit-led sort of, you know, communication that kind of says to people, I don't value you. I don't value you. I value the money that you can bring in the door. And at a time like this, where this year has really highlighted, you know, the sheer need for us to all connect as humans, you know, motivators of money are a very different sort of thing for different people. And if you're not feeling valued in your organization, if you're feeling like you're just a bit of a cash cow, what is your incentive to then work for that organization or to stay employed with that organization? And so talking about that people-led communication and you know, bringing teams together, yes, being transparent about, you know, those overheads and that need to bring money in the door, but at the very point of that, having the people-led communication. What's the value of the people? How do you show them you support them? How do you show them you value them? And then come together as a team for the organization. And we've seen a lot of organizations, you know, who do that well and have done that well for a long time, and they are thriving through this time. And, you know, that's an amazing thing that they've really, you know, they've been relationship and people focused for, you know, the many, many years. And right now that's showing as the real hook that's keeping them going and helping them even grow and thrive at this time. Whereas we're also seeing, again, that other, you know, the profit-led ones, you know, they might have done well before, but they're not doing as well now because we need loyalty, we need people, we need value, all of those things.
Yeah, and that's been really interesting around where's the focus, you know, profit, people, and especially during times like COVID. I mean, for people that are actually watching today, and there's someone that Carolyn just said, love it, people-led communication. Thank you. Well done, Sheena. Love that. For people that are listening, what are some tips to help them navigate, again, if they're having to, again, that people-led communication? I know that's something that you're exceptional at. And anyone that's listening, last week I had a bit of a challenge, had a bit of a crisis last week, and I thought, okay, what am I going to do here? You know, I had to kind of take a step back, and communication is key in leadership. And I thought, and it was a challenge with our awards, and so therefore I thought, oh my gosh, I know the best person to talk to about this, Sheena. So I had to send out a kind of a vulnerable, courageous email to a lot of people, because we had to shift our awards date again, the venue again. It made my heart sink. Like, I thought, oh my God, this is breaking my heart that due to COVID, we're going to have to and I reached out to Sheena, and she was amazing. She helped me with a communication plan. She helped me with an amazing email, which I sent out to everybody around, again, another change. And the feedback I got from that communication from everyone was, wow, this is like a completely, what a great email, what a great communication piece. We totally get where you're at. We totally understand that it was that Sheena helped me around, and because at the time went, I don't know how to handle or navigate this because I'm too close to it. So having someone help me with that. But when you don't have, obviously reach out to Sheena if you need that, but you don't have those skills. Like at the time I went, I don't know if I've got skills for this, because this is kind of like, what advice would you give to people that need to communicate effectively during times of crisis?
I know, it's such a hard one, isn't it? And I think we all need to be okay with the fact that what happens when we're in a crisis or when something hits us straight in the heart, like those kind of things where, our stomach falls, all of those kind of things, our natural response is to defend. And so even when we then write stuff at that point in time, or we go on to, you see it all the time with people in crisis communications and getting up in front of a news crew and getting really defensive, because again, it hits us, our stomach sinks, it hits our heart. So the one thing I want to say is that's okay. But what we need to do is recognize that. And then we need to go, okay, well, how do I flip this? And, it's not flip it into an untruth, but it's how do I actually flip it and go, I'm acting defensively now. I need to actually take the message. I need to actually be courageous and get on the front foot and be honest and be transparent and talk about what's going on. Because when you do that as well and you flip that and you stop the defensiveness, you give that aura of confidence, and people then trust you in that, and people then want to help you. And like your email, getting on that, giving that honest email, which people naturally want to support us when we come out and give an honest view. And then when we're confident about what we do, and, and sometimes we're not feeling that confident, but if we can really get that message, and this is why trusted advisors are good too, because they'll tap into the stuff that's naturally you, it's authentic. We always hear comms people being called the spin doctors. It's not really spin, but it's actually supporting you to go, okay, what is the real message in here? Because you can be defensive. And again, we see it all the time. We see it on the news when politicians are asked, certain questions, and they get really defensive, and it doesn't sort of win anyone over. Let's be honest. It just makes you look like you don't want to engage, and, people don't trust you because it seems shifty. Whereas when you flip it and you go, actually, what do I really want to say here? What is the courageous thing? What is the actual thing deep down that I, want to let out to tell people that it's going to be okay, but this is what's happening. This might have changed, and you get on the front foot. Then most people actually want to support you, and they want to get out there and they buy into your message, and they trust you, so that when you come out with the next message again, they still trust you. So it's really important, I think, to, that would be the one thing for me is write down the completely defensive thing about how you're feeling. Tell yourself that that's okay to feel that way, and then talk to someone else about how to put that in a more positive sort of, and sometimes more direct element. Because I will say the other point of that is sometimes we feel the need to over-explain things. And often when we over-explain things, we lose the real key message, because we kind of still are defending things. And the reality is we shouldn't have to over-explain ourselves in 99% of occasions. So if we pare that back, again, we come out confident, we own the decision, and we get people on board who care and who trust us going forward.
I think that's very, very true. Like, you want to kind of be like, over-explain everything. Yep. And I think just keeping to the point, keeping it real. I think that's probably why Jacinta Ardern has done really well in the communication piece as well. I think she's kept it real. She's kind of gone, hey, you know what? This is challenge. Like, she's kind of spoken from the heart as well. And I think that's why, again, communication is key, and getting across, again, keeping it real, keeping it authentic, kind of going, I know this kind of sucks, but communication is key, because the thing is, when we don't communicate, if we don't keep it honest, and it's okay to say we don't know what's going to happen next, because the brain is very good at ruminating. It's good at coming. When we don't have that communication or we don't know what's going on, we're very good at making up stories. And, I think that's why it's really important to have people like yourself. Rosemary wrote, if people know that you stand for and stand by what you say, there's no reason or need to over-explain anything. Yeah, and that's really true. So, and Rosemary got that email you helped me draft because she's a finalist in the award. So I'm trying. Thanks, Rosemary. I had Sheena to help me with that because I was a bit so. But again, it's okay to reach out to people like yourself to go, hey, I don't know how to navigate this. I know communication is key. I just don't know what to say. I don't know how to. And I think that's why you guys are specialists in communication, that, we need to be communicating more as leaders and also with kindness and courage as well. I think that's important. So tell me a little bit about, in terms of your journey and starting this amazing company, what would you tell, what kind of advice would you say to other people out there that are looking at starting a business, or other women out there that are looking at, at the moment, I'm finding I'm getting a lot, in particular women, that are reaching out to me because they're really wanting to start their own company, and they see people like myself or you, and they kind of go, wow, how did you do that? Like, how did you have the courage to do that? What advice would you give them?
Yeah. So the first one I always say is, just do it. Again, stop the overthinking. You don't have to be 100% there before you start a business. And I think that's a really, really important one. And I think underpinning that, or kind of side by side with that, is you don't have to do it alone. I think when we start business, we think we have to do it all alone. When we're bootstrapping things, we think, well, I can't ask other people, and, I can't afford this yet, and all that kind of stuff. But, we really need to lean into the people around us as well, surround ourselves with the right advisors to support us. And, it goes back to even your point of what you were saying, just before about even reaching out to me. We've all got our expert areas, but we also have, our own biases based on what we're seeing, what we're doing, and we're so close to our own business. And so that real sheer power of having a team of advisors around you to fill those blind spots, so you can talk to people about those blind spots, and they can give you, other perspectives, other advice. And you don't always have to take that, but you at least then get to recognize another perspective. And you also really, having that team advisor says you don't have to do it alone. As a business owner, you do, and as you know, Sonia, you can think that you have to be the accountant and the lawyer and the comms person and the director and the HR manager, and that sounds great until we realize we actually can't do it all. Let's be really honest here. We can try to do it, but then we don't do any of it well, and so then we risk stuff that's really important for us. So I think having the right team around you is also important, to be able to say, stick to the stuff that you are good at, and that brings you in money, and that lights people up and supports other people, and all of those kind of things, the stuff that lights you up. Yes, you have to get across stuff. Yes, you have to understand all the other stuff, but the sooner you bring in other people to support you on those areas and trust them to do it, the better you become at, the stuff that you're doing well. And that's when you can actually build your business as well.
Especially, I totally agree with that. That's why I surround myself with people that have different strengths to me. Is do it. Like, think about the legacy you want to leave behind. Make sure you get a good. That's one thing. Make sure that
very important.
Stay true to your values as well. I think it's really important. But again, surround yourself, as you said, we can't be great at everything, and that's why it's really important to stay what you love, what you're passionate about. That sweet spot. What are your strengths? What are your passions? What does the world need? Just stay focused on that.
Yeah. And I love your point about values too. And I think we all learn the really hard lessons early on in business when we say yes to clients who don't fit in our values, or we say yes to some things that don't necessarily fit in our values. And they're really hard lessons to learn, because the more you do that, the more you kind of put yourself in an area where you're feeling compromised every day because your values don't align. I think values are vital. your advisors, your team members, your clients stick within that value set, and then again, you won't feel like you're working a day in your life, because you're surrounding yourself with the people, and you can do your work better. If I was to work with someone who didn't value people first, or didn't value communication, I'm not going to do a good job, because they're not going to value what I'm doing. And so I'm just going to be beating my head against a wall and feeling like I'm not succeeding. If I work with people who value communications and fit within those other values that I've got in the business, it just works, and they succeed and you succeed, and it's amazing.
So true. It's the same when clients work with clients. If they don't value leadership and they can't see the difference, leadership or communication is within their business or company, there's no it can't work or won't work, because they need to really value the importance of leadership or value the importance of communication. Yeah. Now, I'm going to ask you an interesting question, and I'm thinking only because I find a lot of people that I work with, and I know that you're going to be helping us moving forward with PR with the Outstanding Leadership Awards, because we're really passionate about building a world of kind, courageous leaders. But I find a lot of people, they'll say to me, Sonia, like PR, like it's so important, getting your message out there, getting like what your vision and your mission out there. But they'll say to me, I don't want to, I want to like blow my own trumpet, right? I don't want to put myself out there. So I know I've created this great company, or I know that I've created this great program, or I've launched this book, or whatever they're doing around having an impact, making a difference to the world, whether they've created a new app, a new product, a new company, whatever. Then they've got news or they've got something to share, but they don't want to put themselves out there. It's like, I don't want to put myself out there because I don't know. I know it's a bit of an Australian cultural thing, tall poppy syndrome. And I'm like, no, you need to go and get PR. Make sure you get PR. PR is so important, because therefore, if you're able to utilize someone like yourself to get you out there in the media, you're actually sharing and also inspiring others to read or watch or learn. What do you say to people out there that go, I don't know about engaging someone in PR? Because I think it's really important that you do put it out there.
Yeah. It is funny, isn't it? And I've been working with an international company at the moment, and we're doing some stuff in Singapore and Australia. And the really interesting thing, we have the conversation about the tall poppy syndrome, because in Singapore they're like, I don't get it. Whereas in Australia, we really have this tall poppy syndrome. God forbid you put yourself out there. But what I would say is, I think we have to. I almost flip it sometimes and go, it's a disservice not to put it out there, because if you are, starting a business, or you're giving a service, or you're giving a product, and it's something that helps people, you kind of need to get it out there. So by you not doing PR, you're almost doing a disservice to others who actually need your expertise or your product and all of that kind of stuff. I know it's uncomfortable. I'm in communications, and I still find it uncomfortable to put stuff out that, to promote what I've done. We still get that tall poppy syndrome. It gets easier, I think, the more we do it, the more feedback we get that supports us to go, okay, no, this is okay. People are, okay with me putting myself out there. And it's the way you do it as well. And so I always say, make it about what you do, make it about sort of why you do it, not necessarily what you do. Because that why usually leads back to people. That's people communication usually, or there's a reason, or there's an social impact, or there's something. The reasons why you do it are much more compelling. So we don't have to self-promote and say, I do this, or, this is what I do. Actually do why, because that's what connects you to other people, I think, because other people have, that similar value set that connects to that why, or something like that. So yeah, I think just my little tip in that is, whenever you write something that you feel uncomfortable with because you're thinking it's self-promoting, just go back and read over it and go, okay, well, is this about what I'm doing or why I'm doing it? Because the why is the thing that's going to connect, and the why usually makes us feel more comfortable, because it's not a whole heap of I do this statements. It is actually bringing it back to the why. And I guess the other thing I'll say, you mentioned about PR, and everyone can sort of look to possibly do some of their own PR, but I think there is a real strength in engaging, or at least having an advisor in your network who can talk to you about PR, because one, it's, you know, our skill and our training and our background. That's what we study for and get experienced in, just like I would not try to do accounting. You know, communications is actually, you know, a skill set. But we're also that person there who can listen to you, like really make sure if you're getting a PR person, make sure they truly, truly listen to you. And when we do that, we buy into you. And so we will effortlessly sell you because we totally believe in what you're doing. And then you don't have to do that, you know, uncomfortable stuff. You're freed up, like I said, even in the other answers, you're freed up to do what you're amazing at. You're freed up to do your genius zone because you've got someone there who totally invests in you and is there to get your PR out.
And I think that's what makes you a leader in this space, because of the listening. Like I always say, when it comes to, we're regularly asked about what skills and competencies around leadership, and there's lots of different things, but the thing that makes a great leader is these two things, like just really listening to people and really understanding why they do what they do or what might be going on for them, or listening is so important. And I know that's something that you're really passionate about. And ever since I started working with you, even now that I'm looking at working with you around what we're doing in the kind of courageous leadership space, is that you really listen to why we're doing it and you really care about it. So from a PR and communications perspective, that's, I think, what differentiates you as a leader, is that you truly listen and that you do truly care. And I think that's really important regardless of you being a leader in this space. But any leader out there listening, I think you need to listen is fundamental.
100%. You know, I think, you know, we, in such a time poor world, we try to make so many assumptions so that we can get ahead. But, you know, the assumptions often leave us, you know, either doing things wrong or making costly errors or, you know, all of those kind of things. You know, to me, listening is removing all assumptions, truly listening, and then, only then, can you actually do any type of PR plan, any type of business plan, anything for someone else once you've actually truly listened. Because otherwise you're making a lot of assumptions built up from your own bias, and that doesn't necessarily work for the other person.
Yeah, what do they say? It makes an ass out of you and me. Yeah.
You know, I was doing effective communications training piece yesterday, and someone raised that one, and I loved it. The assumptions make an ass of you and me. So true.
It is so true. That's why listening and not making assumptions, like listen, and active listening, like really be present. And I think that's what, again, makes you stand out in this space, a leader in this space. So I know I'm promoting you a lot, but that's because I do really care about what you do and what you're making a difference. So, okay, just a couple of questions. If you could go back in time and say something to your younger self, what advice would you give to your younger self?
It's a great one, isn't it? I think it's just keep going. You know, there's so many times, particularly in our youth, that we just think, you know, things are way too hard, and, you know, you just want to stop, or you don't want to go down that path. And I think, you know, the realities of all of those moments I can think back in my life is when it got hard, something amazing always happened afterwards. If you can just keep going, you know, you can get through it. And again, coupling with that in, you know, you don't have to go it alone. You know, again, when we're younger and we're going through hard things, and even now, let's be honest, I don't think it ever goes away. You can think that you have to go through everything alone, that you have to sort it out. But the minute you let other people in, the minute you get vulnerable, you get courageous, and you let other people in, is the minute that you let other people shine as well. You know, we're humans. We love helping each other. And so you let other people in, and again, that's how you get through things. You know, you don't have to go through anything alone.
And I think that's what also makes you remarkable, because I know that you also volunteer at Lifeline, and you and I we're both really passionate about mental health.
Absolutely.
You don't have to go through it alone. You know, I think that, I know that you and I have spoken about this, that when you find that when people ring you through Lifeline to reach out to you, it's really important to you because they're reaching out because they want help, they want support. And I think whether it's Lifeline or anyone that, like, whatever we're going through, you don't have to go through it alone. You know, I think that's reach out to people wherever you're at, because it's not a stigma, it's, and even particularly during this time, I'd have to say, like, it's been really challenging for all of us, and I've definitely had my ups and downs. Last week was incredibly challenging, and I was like, I can't navigate this alone. I reached out to my team, I reached out to you, and I went, okay, I don't know if I can do this alone. Like, we're not superheroes, we're human beings. And I agree, like, just to keep going, but also to reach out to people. That's a strength when you say, you know what, I'm struggling, or I don't know what to do. Yeah.
It's one of the bravest things you can do, isn't it?
Yes.
Help.
I need help. So so that's why I think it's wonderful that you do that with Lifeline as well. So thank you for that. So
for all you do.
Oh yeah, we well, you know what? If it's not us, we need to, I think it's just around. There's so many people out there, and I know there's so many people listening here that are great, like, are really kind and courageous as well. It is up to us. I mean, it's up to us, and it's about us being the change we want to see, and also that we continuously, lead with kindness and courage. And that's what we're doing, and that's why I really wanted you on the channel today, because that's what you completely espouse in everything that you do. Sorry, my little thing is moving here. So, okay, before we head off, because my team always get cranky with me every time I go over 30 minutes, because I can talk to you forever. Is any final insights for anyone out there that's listening? Is there anything else that you'd like to say? Any final advice, guidance, insights around what you do, or leadership or communication? Is there anything else you'd like to say?
I think, and because we're kind of, we've been talking about that kind and courageous leadership and communications, especially through this time. And I think one of the biggest secrets to leadership and communication is to, again, remove those assumptions and lead with kindness. So too often we can be led to think that something is happening to us, or someone is saying something from a place that's completely negative or against us and things like that, and we can react in that defensive way. Or we can look at a situation and we can assume it's happening for a certain reason. And I think if we just take that back and we remove all of those assumptions and think with kindness, and think, well, what actually could be happening for this other person, and why could this situation be happening, then we can truly communicate, because then we don't just defend or we jump to assumptions. We actually are considerate, and we can then have a proper connection. We have proper communication, and usually we have positive outcomes.
It's so true. I always say to people, especially when there's conflict or there's someone they're having challenges with, or they have to have the courageous conversation, I always go, remember to take a step back.
Yeah.
Think and act with empathy and kindness, because always think about, or put yourself in their shoes, what might be going on for them.
Yeah.
And if you have to have any conversation, come from a space of good intent and kindness, because that'll actually take you a lot further than you having to go on to any sort of, like, what I mean, like reaction or anything like that. I think kindness goes, and it's a superpower. Kindness is a superpower. I think that's something that, if there's something that can come out of this year, if we can lead and be and really kind of anything we do is with kindness, it'll go such a long way moving forward. So I think kindness is the new leadership style, I think. So it was such an honor to have you on today. So I will, if anyone's interested, check out Sheena's website. I'll put that in the post when I repost this as well, Specialists in Communication. Make sure you reach out to her. She's got a massive heart. She loves to help people. She does incredible work in the PR communication space. And I just want to say a massive thank you for being on the Leadership Channel today.
Thank you so much, Sonia. It's been amazing chatting with you.
You too. And stay kind, and also just keep up your beautiful leadership and communications work.
Thank you. And you too.
Take care. Bye, everybody. Thanks again. Bye.